Hey guys, I'm Don Avery here. So you just saw our video. We had to take it down sound issues, but we got that straightened out, and we wanted to make sure that we give you guys a proper interpretation and that you could actually hear it. Donna did a proper interpretation. Don't get me wrong on that, but I want to make sure that you guys hear the interpretation because it's powerful. Powerful. Wow. Okay.
So, yeah. As you just let us know if you can hear the audio, give us a thumbs up, say you're good to go. But this interpretation just floored and Tim, and I feel like it's from the Lord. I feel like the whole time that Tim was sharing his video in the previous video with guys, thanks Heidi, that I was just being floored with the process that the Spirit was moving to hear his dream and interpret it. But I was just processing. So if you guys are watching me in that video, you'll notice by my facial expressions that I am just taking it on, processing and asking the questions the Holy Spirit wanted me to hear. So if you'll notice, he points out in the very first part of the dream that he's walking into a testing room, a dark room. He said, there's not a lot of light. It was dark. And so that sets the atmosphere. Obvious in a dream. A lot of times you want to ask about that. You want to make sure what the atmosphere felt like, not just what it looked like. And so I find it interesting that he pointed at the dream is a test, a dream where a test is being facilitated. I think it's very interesting how there's a long table, and we all know that a lot of us have watched videos where there's a lot of tables, a lot of long tables where birds are being handled. Some are being shredded, some are being reviewed. Anyway, found it very interesting. Interpretation was exactly a long table with a lot of paper shuffled, handled, shredded, and whatnot. So on to the next part of how he describes the dream.
And it seems like there was a test given or being given to students around a table. The table was kind of set in a dark room. And I don't mean like dark, like scary, but it was just like there's not a lot of light in this room. Okay, so
did you feel concerned?
I didn't feel concerned. I just, if anything, that feeling you have when you're going to take a test, you kind of have that somewhat anxious. Did I do enough? Did I feel like I had that feeling because I was, and this is another thing, I can't really understand if I was a part of the testing was just like a fly on the wall, just witness. That's kind of how I felt, like more like a fly on the wall, if you will, just witnessing this account.
So there the Lord's showing that he's just using Tim as a witness to what to share with him.
Long rectangular table where there's students sitting probably about, I don't know, like 3 feet kind of along the table going on both sides. And then there's this facilitator or instructor or teacher that was going around testing students. Now, what they were testing was American Sign Language, or it's just sign language. I'll say, I don't know if it was official American Sign Language, but it was sign language.
So that's the part that really, really got me, because the minute he said American Sign Language and then he backed up and said official American Sign Language, just blew me away what I felt in my spirit, because that's when I started seeing more of a vision, other than the ones I just saw of a table or on tables. And so that one confirmed to me that this was about our nation, that this was about the election, and that this was about how most patriots are they're concerned. They're not sure if any of this is official. So the questioning of whether it's official testing or not just blew me away when I first heard that. And we'll let him share more.
Okay. So around to each student, and I specifically remember 4 students in their account and their experience.
Before we go on to the 4, I do want to point out the main thing. The Lord showed me. The main thing of this is that he's seen a sign language test, American Sign Language test, because right now Americans feel like they have no voice, that their voice has been taken from them, that they have shown up.
Wow.
Sign language you can see, but not hear. So they feel like they have shown up as a nation and made their voice count, yet their voice has not been heard. And so it's so interesting that the key thing that the Holy Spirit showed me when he was showing me that it's sign language is that you can see sign language heard with sign language. So then he goes on to talk about the 4 students, how one was male in the back, and then there was a female. Across from her was a male, and then an empty desk. So we'll hear that.
With this facilitator, or giving a test to these, the student that was at the edge of the table, right in front of me, was just taking his test, and she was about to take her, and it was a female, it was a guy. So it was a guy sitting there about to take his test, and there was a female sitting next to him. Across from that female, other guy sitting there, and then the other chair was empty, but it was about to be filled by somebody who was coming in late.
Okay? And you don't believe that was necessarily you?
Nuh-uh. I don't believe these people were me. I think it was a representation of just me witnessing this account of this dream. Okay. And so the instructor came by and tested this first person, which was a male, just for his American Sign Language. So the instructor, just kind of did a sign language gesture to that person, and that in the sign language, a quick little back and forth conversation in sign language, and then she kind of nodded her head and she kind of wrote it on the clipboard, passed, and then I just sat there, just stayed there. And then the person next to him.
Okay, I want to stop right there because that's so key. When I saw this first person pass, notice that he's male. Notice that he's also saying that the facilitator is a female. The female representing the Holy Spirit. And what I find so key, the Holy Spirit is testing, and that this male passes. Okay, so what I felt like he was that this was, now I'm not saying that this is your dream interpretation, but this was mine. Okay, and I'm still getting a lot Holy Spirit on this. So I just want to preface what I'm saying with that as well. And I definitely saw that the facilitator, being the Lord, was testing, and that this first male, and it's interesting because I felt like that was Trump. And so that person passed. That election's already come and gone, and he's stayed, and he's still sitting there in the classroom of testing. Now, the next student is a female, and I saw that to be, and then Biden sitting next to her.
Female was kind of having almost like a trading off of paper or something across from them. So the female that was sitting directly across from that female was a guy, and they were kind of looking at each other, kind of conversing, and the instructor was coming around to test one of those 2 students. By this time, the student that was coming in was sitting down at that empty chair. So the instructor was coming by. So there's a late student that comes and sits down.
Male or female?
Male student, and you could tell that he was kind of, and didn't know what was, not know what's going on, but you could tell he was late and not prepared, not ready, whatever. He just came in and sat down and was just frantic, like trying to figure out how he was going to this exam. Okay, that kind of mindset. As the instructor was coming around, the 2 students that were sitting next to each other, the male and female, the female passing either a note or some answers or something, but it seemed like these 2 were cheating in some regard. The instructor saw it, and she looked at the female and said, "Okay, you can go ahead and close your book. You're not testing today." It's that regard. And then she looked at the male student that received those answers or whatever it was. She told him, "Was like, you can go ahead and go as well too. You're not taking the test today."
So there you have it. The facilitator looks at the female and the facilitator has caught that, and so they have not passed the test that has been given to them. I think it's just very interesting how what I know of the Lord, he's very faithful to give warnings, to prepare for us to know how to pray as intercessors as well. What has happened, and now I believe he shows his people, things to come, and what to, how to pray and how to not just be a thermometer, but a thermostat. So in this next, he's going to go over to the student that is anxious, frantic, came in late and unprepared.
And so they were done. And then the student that had came in late had sat down. He was kind of flustered. He was just like asking the instructor how to do a certain sign, like how do you sign this word or whatever. As the instructor was coming by, he asked the instructor, and the instructor looked at her and said, "I can tell that you had to study for this exam. You know, you're more than welcome to leave because I know there's not exam." Okay, and then the instructor kind of went down that long rectangular table, just testing other students as she went by. And so that was the dream. So curious to see your thoughts.
Yeah. So, the frantic came in late, unprepared, trying to do sign language, trying to get answers from that facilitator. And the facilitator's like, "No, I'm sorry, you're late to the game. You're clearly unprepared. You're done too." And so I think it's key that the student that remained. I think it's key that the student that passed, the only one that passed, remained. All right. So of encouragement to you, I want to challenge you to pray for our nation. I want to challenge you to pray God's will for our nation, not my will, not your will, but his will, the will of the Father, the will of Jesus for this nation. And I think that it's very key that he's pointing to someone else. Another male came late to the game, very unprepared. Curious to see how that plays out. Maybe it's someone in the Supreme Court. Not sure, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please comment and let us know. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and share with a friend. And we love you guys.